Yes, well, if you're talking about that type of money, Rob, you can't knock it back. The club can't knock it back. And obviously, we spoke about it last week. The players' wages getting branded about £200,000 a week. And we've read earlier on they're talking about clauses and that it was put in his own contract. Celtic have done fantastically well because what they spoke about was if they get an offer over 25 million. And I don't think anyone would have seen that, no matter how long you're at the football club. It's very, very difficult for clubs down south to pay Scottish clubs for that amount of money. And that's where you would have thought he'd have went. The surprise is it's going to Saudi Arabia. Exactly. That's the big thing, you know. And listen, there's some obviously wonderful stars over there, I understand that, but I'm very surprised someone so young's chosen to do that. But when you look at the finances, you can understand completely.
Yeah, I mean, Celtic, when they put that clause in the contract, probably thought they were pretty safe at making it a 25 million fee. They would have been happy with doubling what they paid for Jota, you'd have thought, but this is quadruple, isn't it? And as you say, if they do turn down a fee of 25 or over, we understand, then his wages would go up from £35,000 a week to £45,000 a week. And
now he's going to £200,000 per week.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
It just shows you it's incredible. But listen, fantastic business again from Celtic. You know, we spoke about it last week that there was a possibility the Rangers would offer him before when he was at Benfica to go to Rangers. They didn't need him at that particular time. They thought they had people in place, and obviously went to Celtic, and I thought it was outstanding. You know, he was one of the players, you know, there's a player comes, and I always think there's a difference when a footballer comes to a Celtic or a Rangers. Can you handle the pressure? I thought it galvanised him. I thought he was one of these guys that could play to the crowd. You know, he could wear the jersey. The jersey was never too heavy for him. And I was really impressed with him. Disappointed, obviously, you can't see him for a lot longer, even in the Scottish game. It's a loss. You know, he's got a wee bit of character about him. I like all that in the football players, you know, but especially the types of players, because they'll have their bad games, they'll have their good games. We had a lot more good games than they did have bad, and disappointed for the Scottish game. But yeah, again, I keep saying it's fantastic they're getting this types of money, you know, for these players. And a great credit to Celtic. You've got to tip your hat to them that obviously that they've done their work in the background, and they've got a player, and they're talking about the deal could work out maybe Celtic in like £17.5 million for it, which is fantastic.
It does raise eyebrows, doesn't it? Just because we're not used to this sort of move happening. I don't think anyone really saw this coming at all for Jota. He's been at Celtic a couple of years, one on loan, one after that deal had been made a permanent one. But he's joining up in that Saudi Arabian Pro League with the likes of Benzema, 35, Conte, 32, Cristiano Ronaldo, 38. That's the trend that we're used to seeing, isn't it? Players getting to a certain age, winning just about everything they can, and then moving on and getting one big last payday. But at his age, in his early 20s, it's unusual. I just wonder if things are changing.
Well, I look at Neves. I'm disappointed to see him go as well, because I think he's a top quality player. Could play in any of the top 4, top 6 in England. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind of that. But yeah, again, the money will be mind-boggling for him. It's Nuno, who used to be the manager at Wolves, who's there. So there's obviously a big Portuguese connection.
Nuno half-back line. Espirito Santo, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's over there. So there's obviously a big Portuguese influx, you know, and you're looking at it and you're thinking, is it going down the line a few years ago? We're talking about Witzel and that went to Russia, I'm sure, and they were going to China and with all, and then they all come back. They went quite young and then come back after 2 years. Obviously their back pockets were full of money, but you've got to come back and prove yourself again in Europe again. And maybe Jota sees that and think, well, I'll go a few years at money, can't knock it back, it's life changing. And all of a sudden he'll find himself maybe one of the top clubs in Europe again. You never know. But as a strange one, that one of the young ones, and I spoke about it off air, we're talking about America in the early 80s when it was Pele, Cruyff and that going.
The New York Cosmos.
Absolutely, it was fantastic. I see the game and it was magic seeing all these players. But you always thought to yourself, well, where did they go for here? And as you rightfully said, when you're talking about Ronaldo, Benzema, all these sort of guys, I know money's no object, but how's it going to be sold around the world? People talk about different problems, but how's it going to be sold around the world? Is it ever going to take the place of the Premier League? I'm not so sure.
And you would imagine that's a long project. That's not flicking of a switch and suddenly you've got a top league, even though you've got some of the top players, because you need the level of competition, don't you?
Absolutely. And I was reading an article on it the other day, and they were saying it's not going to be top 3 teams, because it seemed to be the 3 teams that everybody was going to, you know, and you're thinking to yourself, well, that's quite bizarre because it's only going to be a 3-team league. But they're saying no, it's going to go right through. All the teams are going to have the finance that can compete with each other. That'll be an interesting one. Is there going to be a relegation, or is it going to be one of these ones that nobody goes down? You know, there's all these situations that we're not really aware of. And for football people like ourselves, we love football, we love seeing players, we love what top players, we love watching the Champions League. That's the thing that's disappointing me, if we're going to lose all these players. Benzema and that, I can understand. If they're making millions, or 200 million, is it over 2 or 3 years?
And he's been there and done it,
Absolutely.
everything.
And he's won 5 Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
You know, so I think if you're a different Benzema, you know, if you're a younger kid and at Real Madrid, then it's very difficult. But I think now that's my only concern. You know, for these guys, got to tip your hat and say, okay, you were brilliant to watch. It was great for us watching you in the Tuesdays and the Wednesdays in the Champions League. Jota's not. I'm disappointed to lose them for the Scottish game. We knew we'd probably lose them sometime along the line, but you want to continue to be your best players. But yeah, again, got to say to Celtic, well done, fantastic, because if you're paying 6 million for someone and you get 25 million a year later, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal business.